The Flow, where we talk about everything AI, agents, and MCP. I am your host, one of your hosts, David Jones Gilardi, joined today by Carter Rabassa. Hello, Carter.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am your other co-host. Super excited for this episode of The Flow. We're all about having conversations and showing off code about AI, and we're joined by James Lee from 12Labs. I'll let James dive into it in a second. But 12Labs is one of the more interesting startups working in the AI space, and specifically working in the video and the AI space. So we've got some absolutely sick demos to show you about what you can do with video and AI using 12Labs, and can't wait to dive into it. For those of you who are new to the flow, you might be wondering why the world needs yet another AI podcast. David and I spun this up because we wanted to create a podcast that was for developers and was very focused on code, very focused on building. Did not get into topics like whether we were all going to have our jobs taken over by AI, or what company was being acquired by some other company. So we're super happy to have you join us. You can expect for the next roughly hour that we're going to dive into a lot of the nitty gritty of what it takes to build interesting things using AI and AI technologies. And as I mentioned, we're super happy to have James Lee join us. I met James for the first time. Actually, David, were you with us in New York? I don't think
No,
so.
no, I missed it.
I organized a hackathon in New York City called Hacking Agents. And James was kind enough to fly out and sort of help partner with us on this hackathon. It was actually held at the for those of you who are familiar with DigitalOcean, they're a super popular VPS provider and platform for developers. We were hosting for a long time. They had an event space where they hosted meetups for developers, hackathons, but they were closing it down. And our hackathon at the DigitalOcean offices was basically the last developer event that they were going to
Oh,
have in
so it
that
is
space.
closing out fully. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Wow. This
closed.
is the
Yeah,
last one.
sadly, it's closed
Yeah.
down. Kind of one of those, victims of just, the world moving on and post-COVID and things like that. But James was kind enough to fly out, join us, and it was really awesome to see what folks built using 12Labs. As I recall, I think the person who won the hackathon made extensive use of 12Labs. He built this amazing F1 racing sort of experience, built on top of live feeds from F1 races.
That's
But
super
without
cool.
further ado, I'd like to sort of quickly introduce James. So James, welcome to the show. As we do this with every guest of ours, it's one of my favorite questions. I always everyone on this show is an engineer. I'm an engineer. David's an engineer. James is an engineer. James is the head of developer relations at 12Labs, but he is an engineer. He rolls up his sleeves and he slings code. And the question we ask everybody is, what is your first memory of writing code or doing programming?
Yeah, well, thanks, Carter and David, for the introduction, and yeah, super excited to got this opportunity to uh, be on the podcast and speak with the Langflow developer community. And yeah, as just a brief note, I think 12 has been a partner with Langflow for quite a while now. We met each other actually way back, with Data Stack team, and I got a chance to converse with various team members and speak at the meetup and as well as the hackathon. So we super excited to continue our partnership conversation and have more activities going on in the future. So I go to school back in the mid 2010s, and I think I didn't take my first programming classes until like the second year of my no, yeah, maybe like the second semester of my freshman year in college,
Okay.
which is very simple, like basic introduction to Python when you start learning about like
Nice.
linked lists and NumPy array and all that. So yeah, I think that's some of the my initial exposure to writing code, and um, obviously learning some basic data structure algorithms, graph, linked list, etc. And yeah, I think to your point, like learning to program is all about problem solving. So there's a tight combination between like mathematics and just working with numbers.
Yeah.
That's why I think I kind of continue pursuing that journey. And I was lucky enough to have a family member who also worked in big tech at the time, and it was my uncle who worked in some of the big tech company in Seattle. So that was a great experience because he helped shape a lot of my professional decision later on in my career.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's always
And
interesting to. Oh, sorry, Carter. It's always interesting to hear how mentors or people like that can absolutely shape the direction that you take, right? Because I was in high school and happened just total like happenstance came across one of the creators of Unix System 5 who was donating a bunch of computers to our school, and I was interested in things and just started talking to the guy. And from that started like a mentorship that literally without a doubt set me on the path, right? And I just find that so interesting, right? When you have like someone in your life that just the interaction with that person kind of blips another, point on your time scale or something like that,
then, but then on top of the people, like think like how lucky to get started with Python, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well,
Oh my god, no,
with
because
especially with the
Python's
timing.
nice to code in, I think it is.
Well, I mean, besides the ergonomics,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like the entire machine learning and subsequently like AI ecosystem is built on Python.
Yes.
I've had some really interesting conversations, like David, you and you've had interesting conversations on this podcast with other folks where other languages, primarily TypeScript, have really come on strong in the AI space as like more
Yeah.
actual application developers start to use AI. But it's all built on top of Python, right?
Yep.
Like even the people who are using TypeScript, they're just using them to build their full stack JavaScript web applications and to invoke APIs. And somewhere down the line, inside the guts of like a lot of these LLMs and these machine learning systems, like you're executing Python. So super lucky to. I personally got started programming with Turbo Pascal, and
Mm.
you can ask me what happened to Turbo Pascal, like not much, right? So that's awesome to get started with Python. So James, so I kind of keyed it up for folks that 12 Labs is a startup that's building in the video AI space. Why don't you just kind of give everybody out there like a kind of a crisp idea of like what kind of solutions does 12 Labs provide? Like what kind of problems are you trying to solve for developers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined TwelveLabs about 2.5 years ago. Back then, it was a pretty small startup. And I think the thesis around the company founding mission was around like taking advantage of all the video content that's happening in the world, right? Back in 2022, 2023, everyone was talking about just text language, right? And every conversation around generative AI was about language model, and just no one was talking about video at the time, right? But I
Right.
think when we uh, actually look at like the actual usage of data on the internet or around like our physical sensors, etc., in the real world scenario, video make up like 80-90% of that information. So the thesis of the company, can we build some sort of artificial intelligence technology that can make sense of all the video that existing, was it digitally or like in real life, right? um, so everyone, developers working in the space probably familiar with foundation models concept, right? Big pre-trained model, leveraging transformer architecture, train on a lot of like content, and you can perform next token prediction. You can predict the next word and the sentences, predict the next frame with an image, right? So for 12 Labs, we basically build two foundation models on for video understanding. Essentially, the first model is called Marengo. It's a video embedding model that take video as input and they generate these multimodal vector embeddings that
Mm.
can correctly represent all the objects, activities, actions, scenes, visual and audio information in the video. And then after that, you can leverage this embedding space for subsequent downstream tasks, things like semantic video search, zero-shot video classification, anomaly detection, etc. And then we have a second model called Pegasus, which is a video language model that take in the input as the video and then generate text as an output. So think about video
Mm.
summaries, video chapters, highlights, open-ended question answering. So you can ask for a specific timestamp that's happening in the scene. You can get a quick summary about what's happening throughout the entire clips, you can even like generate like JSON schema, right, of a certain aspect, which is super useful for metadata generation for subsequent tasks. Because the question is about like for the developers, so we expose all of this model as endpoint API, in which
Mhm.
any software engineers, whether they backend, front end, infrastructure engineer, they can simply call this API and then integrate it directly into the existing technology stack, right? And as for like the use cases, right? Because we focus a lot on video, our ideal developer persona um, engineers who like build interesting video application, right? So the two we started out with media entertainment. I think that's like one of the
Right.
biggest vertical for the company. So we have a lot of engineers working in, like say, agency, sport organization, media organization, TV studio, etc., who familiar with the media technology stack, and they leverage TwelveLabs to like bring these AI capabilities
Mhm.
inside technology. And then since then, I think we kind of evolve a lot as well. Now we have use cases in advertising, marketing, digital native SaaS, public safety, security. Hopefully, in the
Hmm.
future, a lot more long tail, use cases from education to manufacturing, retail, etc. Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that because I know when I've, a lot of the examples and such like that are kind of entertainment based, right? That are in 12 Labs and stuff, but those are just the examples, right? And it makes I feel like it makes a lot of sense, right? That folks in that industry. But you said some really interesting ones like manufacturing and things like. I mean, what kinds of things are they doing with videos in 12 Labs?
Yeah, for sure. So if you think about like public safety as a broader concept, right? There's like security, camera footage,
Okay.
manufacturing of activities in a store, for example. The task here, the objective here is like how like say detect when like there's like a theft right on a store, for example, someone's
Yeah.
stealing like a product right in a Walmart, right? So um, you can do that with like search, right? Like, if you set up like a threshold where like you search for the scene where an unusual behavior happening, right? Like like the action of stealing, then the video embedding model can understand that concept, and every time that activity happen, it can detect that, and then it return like a alert, right, to operator of the
Okay.
store, so it can take action. Um,
Okay, so it sounds like, funny enough, like I have, I live in a busy street. I have a camera right here. There's accidents all the time, right? And there was an accident one day that I got with the camera and it was pretty clear what happened, but the challenge was is that I have this whole long feed and then you have to sit there and kind of thumb through it. But I didn't even think about that. This would be a great case for 12 Labs where you take that video, upload it and just ask it, when did this happen? Right? And at least from my experience with 12 Labs, it would probably be pretty darn accurate at being able to tell me exactly when that was. So
Yeah,
is
and
that
I
is
think
that the kind of
that
case that you're seeing? Like, oh, go ahead, Carter. Sorry.
well, I just think that I think James. I remember when I worked at Twilio. Twilio is a platform company, right? That has these pretty like granular APIs around phone calls and text messages and stuff. But when you and also or like I have friends that work at AWS, right? And they, you got like someone, you have DynamoDB, you have
Hmm.
S3, like you have these like super granular, like I think of them as Legos. Um, th- Really like, but like when you're building the platform, like sometimes you have visibility into like use cases, right? Like sometimes it's like really clear. It's like, oh yeah, like if you work at Twilio, sure, someone should use this to build a call center. But like, but that is just like the tip of the iceberg, like relative to like all of the
Yeah.
like the actual like long tail of use cases that people end up using your platform for. And that can be really challenging because when you're building the platform and when you're building the APIs and you're building the developer experience and the capabilities, like you have to be really careful not to be too focused on on use cases, because then you accidentally lock out developers from using your product in ways that you didn't anticipate, right? Like it's one of those like platform design challenges. And I think from what I've seen like playing with 12 Labs so far, like I kind of like how it feels. It feels pretty use case agnostic. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, like I'm a developer. I've got access to video content or video feeds. And there's like some really good ergonomics in terms of like how I can turn that into embeddings, and then how I can query those embeddings, and that just sort of like unlocks like a lot of use cases beyond the ones that they're familiar with. But I think this is we're kind of talking about it, but we should probably just
We should
transition
probably
into
kill it,
check.
right? Let's see what.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So James, feel free to share your screen,
Yeah.
and we
So
can just start like walking through some of these examples, right? Like
Yeah.
it'd be real awesome to see like what it looks like to actually generate some video embeddings, to query those embeddings. David and I will just sort of function as like super curious engineers that will ask clarifying questions along the journey.
I mean,
And
I think we're pretty curious, Carter. Just
yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess that's really the only qualification for being a podcast host, right? Just exhibit some curiosity, and
that's right.
maybe we
yeah,
can wear a funny T-shirt. But yeah, I mean, why don't you go ahead and share your screen, and we'll take it from there.
sounds great. So I will maybe like walk through a couple of different demo apps
Yeah,
that my team has been building over the past several weeks.
Yeah, cool.
And then just demonstrate some versatility, diversity of what we have accomplished so far. But I just want to start by um, saying that we are close partner with the Langflow team, so I highly recommend any audience to take a look at this blog article on our blog that we published about 2 3 months ago that go into details on how to use TwelveLabs and Langflow together. There's a very nice video that Melissa, one of the Langflow team members, has been working on, and I know that David will have another demo a bit later on, so he can talk in details on how TwelveLabs function within Langflow. Yeah, so that's
Yep.
just a quick teaser. That in terms of application, so I want to quickly show this pretty cool app that my team built. So this one is called Shoppable Video. Essentially, like let's say so the use case is like shopping. So given a video of a cooking show, right? So I'm just
Mhm.
saying like Gordon Ramsay perfect Valentine Day dessert. And for context, two video. um, what it does is it detects all the products that happening, or like the food item that is
Hey,
inside.
hey,
So,
James. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think while you're playing the video, it seems like
mhm.
it's kind of getting in the way of your
Take
sound. Yeah.
of your microphone. Yeah, I would probably
Yeah.
just mute the video.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let the sound.
Let's
Okay,
see.
yeah, just mute the video. Yeah,
Yeah, you
but I
sound
was
fine now.
Yep, that's better.
sounds good. Yeah. What it does is right now, given the video, it uses our model to detect when there's like a food items that appear on the screen. So we can see like, let's say, you know, like heart shape fell cutouts, right? So which is happening in the scene. Now you can see sugar, um, egg-wise, so these
Oh,
are
is,
all.
is it doing that in real time?
So this is a pre-indexed video, so we already process it. So
Mhm.
I
but
got
the
you.
result, yeah, the result is definitely real time. So you can click into it, right? Like you can see.
I see. I see. I see.
So and these are like the coordinates of where um, the food item appear on the product.
Mhm.
So as the person like make the recipe, you can see like all the different food items. So like let's say I'm go down here, like there's peppers, right? There's salt buns, right? So it essentially display all the like food products that are like items that happening inside the footage. And let's say salt pan, right? You can see. By the way, I'm just gonna stop the video real quick, and you can see the description of the actual
That's right.
items. Like a salt pan
Mhm.
is used to melt butter and cook down raspberry. So you can see it right here, right? On like let's say if I go to like champagne glasses, right? What is it? Yeah, champagne. I think it says two champagne glasses appear besides the dessert plate.
There
Yeah,
we
these two.
go. Yep.
Well,
That's cool.
and so basically we go through the entire video and we detect this product and then we like provide a description about them. And you probably see this button called Shop at Amazon, right? So if I
Sure.
click into that, it
Yeah,
will
it'll
just
just be like champagne glasses. So
yeah.
so this is a super cool demo, James, but let's
Mhm.
let's rewind. Like if like how did you build it, right? So it sounds like you got a video, this Gordon Ramsay's perfect Valentine, like what you found a video about some cook show stuff, right?
Mhm.
And it seems like you processed it through 12 Labs's embedding model. And is that accurate?
Yeah, let me quickly going over uh, the repo of this, so you can take a look at the
Yeah.
You blow it up a little bit. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
Read my mind.
yeah. So this is the flow from a architecture point of
Mm,
view. We got the video, we upload to 12 Labs, and then it's
mhm,
already an index within 12 Labs. And we get the video, and we get the video metadata as well. So anything like is a titles, hashtag, etc. about the video,
mhm,
um, and then uh, we call so there's actually two ways here. Like, so if there's no user metadata available, then we will go through the flow down here, which is
Okay.
mm.
calling the analyze API. So we had the analyze API is the API endpoint that was built on top of our Pegasus model, and it like generated the products info, right? So like,
Oh, that's what I was wondering, right? So like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So like I'll ingest the video using 12 Labs.
mhm,
Um, and then I don't know, I guess sometimes when that video is ingested, it will, as a byproduct of the ingestion, it'll generate a bunch of metadata.
mhm,
If it doesn't generate that metadata, then you have a separate API endpoint that will run the video that has already been ingested through an analysis phase,
mhm.
and then that will pull out all that because that's what I was wondering. I was kind of like, hey, like
Yep.
how did your app know that there were whatever like champagne glasses
Right.
or heart shaped whatevers,
Yeah.
in order because then I think that is because then that is the term that I'm guessing that you use to execute the search API that actually like tells you like the frames, that those things appear in.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the code snippet for the Analyze API, and the cool thing about here is the actual prompt. So this is the actual prompt that was used to fed into the Analyze API. So you can see here, like, list all the products shown in the video with the following details. I asked the model to return, the start and end time of the product, the brand,
Mm.
Okay.
the product name. This one is pretty interesting, which is the location. So we actually asked the model to read.
Yeah, the
Oh, in the
X and the
video.
Y,
Oh, so you're
right?
getting like the bounding boxes almost,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's correct. So like it
That's
detect the
great.
product by, identifying the coordinates, right, of where it appears on the screen, which is like why you see this like shape thing, right? Like, yeah, which is why you see this.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that.
So
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool. Okay, I see what it does now.
the front end code is getting that
Mhm.
stuff back, and it's like using it to like layer
That's a
those
pretty
little
cool use case,
buy
actually.
buttons.
Okay, I didn't notice that at first until you just pointed it out. Now it kind of came together, and that's neat.
Yeah, and then after prior description, and after that, we asked it to return the JSON schema, which is would be then be used to display to the front end, right? So
Got
that's
you.
how we able to get like sorry, like all the information on the left side here, right? You got the description, you got the exact timestamp right here, and you got the
Yeah.
coordinates. Yeah.
So
Then
James, like I'm
go
I'm
ahead.
curious as well. Like for this app, right?
Mhm.
Did you? I'm assuming you pre-indexed a set of videos, and that as you index those videos, this app is built to probably tie into whatever group of those videos are or something like that. Does 12 Labs handle streaming as well? Like if I had like this video, can I stream this video in while we were
Yeah.
talking and actually do this
That
kind of
that that
analysis?
yeah, that was my question too.
Oh,
Like,
was it really? Oh,
how well, but like I think like as we're trying to we want to make sure I want to make sure that developers like walk away from this with like
yeah.
a pretty like clear understanding of like how to use 12 labs in practice. And there's obviously like a lot of like there's a lot of stages, right? But like the
Yep.
very first stage is ingestion. So
Mhm.
like what are the options for developers to ingest video data like into your platform?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, you support some kind of file upload thing, like, that's obvious, but, like, are there other ways that developers can get video content in there?
Yeah. So essentially, there are two major ways that developers can use our upload function at the moment, and
Mm,
um, I think besides the file upload approach with local file, like another popular way that people use was actually via the cloud. So a lot of
Mm,
our users, like especially on a bigger scale, they have terabyte, gigabyte of data already stored
yeah.
in some cloud storage.
Right. Right.
In this example is like S3, right? Because if you run on Amazon, then you have a lot of footage already. So this approach, like we just showcase how to basically do the cloud to cloud transfer, like we have
Mm.
transfer all your footage on your S3 bucket directly to the TwelveLabs platform.
Okay, great. I mean, honestly, like that's good. So like you're saying
Mm,
like, hey Carter, like if you can like we integrate with S3, and then you can just like put videos in a bucket and like we'll detect that like that you've added things to your bucket and we'll ingest them and like that's like obviously like a ton of developers use
mhm.
S3. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
um
and we start out with S3 because that's like one of the more popular one, and
Right.
obviously we would love to support like more option, whether it's Azure or GCP, and to your point, I think we would love to like support like more connectors down the line, where so that you can ingest video from
yeah.
like Dropbox or something, right? Or like your
Yeah.
own TikTok feed, right? These are
So
these are on the roadmap. It just
yeah.
it require a bit of like data engineering.
Yeah, no, no, hey, trust me. Like David and I are super familiar with the challenges of like
Mhm.
like actually like integrating with everything like
Uh,
with limited resources. So like it's just it's like a hard problem. It's like this the whole ecosystem engineering is like a really is a hard problem to solve.
yeah.
Did you just very quickly does 12 Labs support any kind of streaming ingestion? Like do you support like RTMP as a way for people to get like live
Yeah,
video into you?
yeah. So right now we don't support it natively.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, I mean it's definitely on the roadmap and going on like next year. But since you mentioned about RTRP, I want to quickly show like this application. One of the internal
Mm,
I do over the summer. So this is in the use cases where it's video security, right?
yeah.
Um, so we have this camera feed. But by the way, these are like publicly available camera feed that we
Are
just
these
grab.
Yeah,
real?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
real now?
Yes, I can
Ah,
play loads on the stream. Hopefully, it's running. Sometimes it's like not running.
right.
Um,
Right. Yeah. Because if these are like real feeds, then yeah, you never know, right? With the where
Yeah,
yeah,
everything.
that's cool though.
these are real feed. They
Oh, here we
Oh
go.
yeah.
for example, this is like a real feed, right? It's
Oh, that's
from
cool.
and you can see the name of the feed
Yeah.
up.
Oh yeah. It's like it's live, man.
Look like this kind
Wow.
of thing. But I'm just gonna play a couple. So this one is from Oregon. This one is not. This is like one sec.
I'm just waiting for you to turn on the facial recognition as somebody's walking down and identify their name. You know,
Yeah, right.
call it out in real time.
But like for this app, the internal marketing they just hook in a bunch of public feeds, right?
Mhm.
Public right here
Right.
to the application. And what happened is like when you go into the investigation tab, let's just say you want to search for like security patrol, for example, and perform a search. So what happened now is like it searched for that term and then it returned like some results, and then you can see like this first one, high confidence, right? And then you can preview the video, which is the feed, right?
Huh.
So what I just did is like it actually searched for security patrol across all the file stream that was being hooked into the app, and then return the scene where I think that's security patrol, which is like I think this guy, police officer, is talking right now. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
what happened like on the pipeline is like for every like 5 to 10 second of the stream, we chunk them and then we feed that into 12 labs index, right? And so we basically have this continuous like
Yeah. Yeah.
10 chunks
Yeah,
of the
and
entire.
you're doing that client side. So like on the like
Yeah.
in your in that thing you're calling the dashboard, like you're
Mhm.
running the feed client side.
Yep.
You're capturing that video, capturing like a 5 second chunk of the video, and then you're just converting that into bytes and
Yeah.
ship and then effectively uploading that to 12 Labs.
Yeah. So it's not like true real time or like
Got you.
true like streaming, but it's like near real time, right? Because like
Yep.
you chunk it to like pretty low volume,
Yeah.
and then you like actually perform analysis every like 5 seconds, right? So like
Well,
it's
You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting for developers or people who are building on this stuff. It's funny. I was having a really fascinating conversation about GraphQL as it relates
Hmm.
to agents.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And sorry, I don't want to take this
Yeah,
podcast like way off the
I guess you
rails,
were
but
going.
like, but they were like the person said to me like, "Hey, GraphQL is a really interesting technology and like API technology for agents because GraphQL allows the client or the agent to only request the data that it needs,
That's right.
as
That's right.
opposed to traditional APIs where like you make an API call and the return object is the same every single time, right? And that's problematic because in general the return values from APIs are being processed by agents, which are backed by LLMs, which means that
Mhm.
you're spending money on tokens that are just being that's wasted
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of interesting because I imagine in the real world, when people are building applications using 12 Labs, like they have to be incredibly thoughtful about how much video they're trying to process, simply for like cost and token reasons, right? And of course, 12 Labs is going to like do everything they can to push the cost down and to be efficient and all those things.
Yeah.
But look, if I've got to, if I can, like, if I can get away with sending 5-second chunks of a live video, if I can meet my use case by sort of like sending subsets of live video and
Hmm.
it achieves the same results, for like a lower cost, and that's something that developers just have to think about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's just not uh, that just makes sense for everyone, not just developers. I think like a lot of the customer insecurity as well, right? Like, I mean, if they index every single 5 seconds of their stream, that's just too much in terms of like cost. So I think
Yeah.
when we come across like real time or streaming use cases like this, it's also like our work internally to figure out like the best infrastructure and support, so that our developers and end users get the insights and the ROI that they need without spending a lot, right, on like API calls, etc.
James,
And one,
is there at some point, when you have a second, it'd be awesome to dive into the dashboard and just kind of give people a peek at like what the 12 Labs dashboard looks like, and like what the and I definitely want to make sure that they're really grounded on how embeddings work, and
okay,
how search works.
yeah, for sure. I can jump into the background in 1 second. But
Yeah.
just one final note about the security app. So you can see here, I run a quick. This is based on the Pegasus model analysis. So it is essentially like analyze some of the clip in the stream. It
Oh,
provide like some
Mhm.
compliance level, the risk level. It provide a quick summary about what's going on, the key insight, recommendation about activities, right? In the stream, right?
that's cool.
So can you imagine it could be useful for like a store monitoring for like CCTV footage on camera on the street, right? Like the daily report about activities that happening, right? Yeah, just like a quick report for them to make sense,
Right.
which is useful. Yeah. Yeah. So quickly talking about the 12 Labs
Should you
playground real
guys
quick.
rename 12 Labs the Skynet? I think you should rename
Stop it, David.
the Skynet.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Be nice to our guest.
Oh, no, no, I'm being funny.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I mean, I can totally see the applications because again, going back to what the anecdote I had earlier about the outside cam watching the street, like some of that software already has the ability, right? It
Mhm.
already does, like to be able to only record when something interesting happens, so you're not wasting battery, you're not wasting video time. But then I'm imagining a scenario, and I think they're probably doing something similar when the initial software sees something interesting, it grabs that, it could then chunk it up into 12 Labs, and
Yeah.
then you have this whole indexing over all the interesting bits that then you can do all of this analysis and search and stuff on, like in real time, like what James is going to show us. So it's like I
Yeah.
just
Cool.
it definitely has my wheels turning.
Yeah. So what you see here in the UI is the playground, just the like the interface of Tor apps when you like work with our technology. So we have a variety of index, which is a collection of video. Like every index is like a project, right? That you work with. So for example, like this surfing competition index, you can see that there's 8 clips that it's all about surfing, right? So they just say like waves, crashing, for example. It's like semantic search, so you can return the clips, right?
Hmm.
You can see this wave crashing, right? So it returned the exact like 23-second clips that talking about wave crashing. Man on the surfboard is another query on the shine, right? So you can see what is the top results, right? And then Kara did talk about embeddings. So
Yeah.
we have this tab called embed that essentially does the embedding visualization
That
of
is, by the way, like David and I play around with like lots of vector databases and sort of tools that
Mhm.
muck with embeddings. Like I love
Yeah.
this clustering visualization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's actually pretty, like from a front end and design aesthetic point of view, it's quite challenging to efficiently, like, visualize the concept of embeddings, right? So the designer on our team who did this is basically like learning from like Disney and some of the approach, right? And then this is a 2D visualization of all the embeddings in a space.
Of course.
Every single green dot that you can see is associated with a clip on the index that I show, and then I just type in the query like a man on the surfboard, which become a an orange embedding. So you can see that it's pretty close to some of the other like
Yeah.
view embeddings. And so now obviously like you can do things like similarity search. So what he
Hmm.
knows like what embedding semantically similar to each other, and from there you can, as a developer, right, you can do more interesting math on top of that, like whatever actually test you want. Yeah.
James, what's the dimensionality of the embeddings you all generate?
Yeah, so right now it's 1024 dimension for
Okay.
across modalities, right? So whether it's video, audio, text, or image, it's all written at 1024 dimension. I think at
Yeah.
the next version of our model, we are looking at to compressing down to 512 as another option, just to make it
Oh wow.
like more compatible with like all the.
Would it be 512 with the same amount of information density? Is that
Yeah,
what you mean by
absolutely.
compressing? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it's a trade-off between like size and quality, right? Too you know, too small and you like lose a lot of semantic information.
That's right.
Too big,
Hmm.
then it's quite clunky. But yeah, I mean, we definitely does not make any like trade-off in terms of like search results, retrieval performance. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Um,
And then I see, yeah, so you got your videos, you got your embed, you got your search, and then I see the analyze tab. Is that sort of representative of the
Mm,
analyze API?
yeah, exactly. So the analyze API is like you choose a video that you want to work with, and then you just like ask question, provide summaries
Yeah.
about this video, right? So
Okay.
like something like this. So break the video down by main event and timestamp. Uh, so what it does now is just like look at the context of the video, and you can
yeah.
see that it return the key
You know,
moments and yeah.
something I was really stoked about earlier. I was playing a bit with things. I have been looking at 12 Labs for a bit, but this morning in particular, I was taking a look at stuff, and being somebody who creates a lot of video content, right? One of the most painful things for me is creating the chapters for like YouTube videos and everything. And there are various methods you can do that with. Generate those chapter time codes and everything. But I was doing that with a bunch of my stuff this morning with 12 Labs, and it was super accurate. Like a lot of the times in other ones, I have to play this game of, well, it's like 5 seconds off, or it's close enough, and I'll have to go and manually adjust it. And I found that the 12 Lab stuff, I want to believe that's the Pegasus model,
Yep.
right? It was super accurate. And one of the key things, you'd think this would be easy, but the end timestamp was always exact to my video, where I've used other methods before, like directly from YouTube and that kind of deal, and it was always had a lot of fuzziness. So I've just been pretty like stoked about that part of it, and because like being able like like creating the video content and like learning content is like kind of the core thing. Doing all the other stuff that you need to do with all those other due diligence. If there's a way to make that easier and more accurate and better, then I'm all for it. And yeah, this seems like it was a good case for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate your testing and yeah, and teach
Yeah,
us.
dude, we're huge fans, man. This is like
Yeah.
super cool stuff. And then do you mind popping open the API docs real quick? I'd love
Yep.
to. The demos are badass. But yeah, so like, let's see, what are some, what are the, what's the actual API look like for like generating and embedding, for instance?
Yeah. So create embeddings and video embeddings. Oops. Video embeddings. So yeah. So this page has some details on. So we use the Marengo model and
Right.
dimension, clip length, etc. So cosine similarities. So the code for uh, creating embeddings, right? So as you can see, you initialize the clan. This is a
Hmm.
bit small, I guess. Actually, I'm gonna jump into the DevX repo, which is have a more complete example
Sure.
of this embedding creation step. Give me one sec. So quick start.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that I saw that you had clients for TypeScript and or I guess
yeah,
Node and Python.
Oh,
yeah,
so you've got
so,
some notebooks here that folks can use. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. So we have this one. Simple collab that go over the details. So this example with Python. Pip install TwelveLabs, right? Configure your credentials in terms of your embeddings. So we have, you can see a client.embed.task.create. So the first
Mm,
step is actually create an asynchronous embedding task, which
Okay.
kick off
right.
the sequence of embedding generation. Model name, and you provide the video URL, which is the video or video file local path if you like start.
Oh, so by video URL, could that be like my YouTube video or something? Just the URL to it? Would that work?
So this,
It probably needs
yeah,
to be a direct URL to an actual like MP4 or something compatible, right, James?
yeah. So video URL right now is actually means like a publicly accessible URL.
Okay.
Uh, the issue with
Yeah.
YouTube right now is there's some like restriction, like they've like API
Yeah.
block that I think everyone's is facing. So we used to support
Yeah.
that, but I think if you want to support YouTube directly, there must be some sort of clever workaround you need to figure out with YouTube API. But anyway, so like you provide the information of the video, and there's some other like key value parameters here as well. Let's say you only want embeddings to be 5 seconds long, and you could specify the length. Let's say you only want
Hmm.
the clip embedding only from second 30 to second 60, then we have this parameter called start offset and then end offset. So the model only focus on that particular segment of the video, right? Uh, and then embedding scope here, clip is basically like clip level embeddings, like second long. And then if you specify it to be video, then it's like video level embedding, meaning that like you get a single embedding for the entire video, regardless of how long it is, right? Um, so yeah, and then you kick off the task, you create the task, and this is like async processing. So you just return an output, and then you actually client.embed task the retrieve, which is actually the code to retrieve the embeddings, and then display that on the front end. Okay, this one looks like, yeah. So that's the code on how it looks
Yeah.
like.
I mean, it's super easy,
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, we're getting to a point where I think, David, did you want to kind of show off some of the fun stuff that you had built using 12 Labs and Langflow?
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't do anything crazy. I think a lot of the stuff that James showed, especially some of the cool video processing stuff like the real time things, beats me. Beats me in
Oh,
terms
that's
of coolness, but that's kind of that's a good thing, right? So let me grab this. All right, so you all see my screen. You see my screen, right?
yeah, of course.
Okay, so what I've got is, so 12 Labs, and James, jump in at any point if you need to, because you are all the folks who created these things. I did not. But 12 Labs had created a whole set of components in Langflow. And for those of you who are watching, if you're not familiar with Langflow, Langflow is a low-code, no-code visual IDE that allows you to visually construct out agentic and LLM based workflows. And so each one of these things that you see here, right? These different boxes here. These are each flows that I have. And so what I did is I went and created, I went through all the 12 Labs components, and I was like, all right, knowing what the dashboard looks like. So if I take a look at this, right, this is my 12 Labs, right?
Mhm.
And you can see I've got a set of videos that I put in here. One in particular, by the way, is always fun. And I was curious to see how well it pulled this kind of stuff. There's no sound or anything, but if you watch him, right? He comes out of the just something a little fun from that standpoint. But I was just putting in like a couple things, some of the videos and everything, and I was like, all right, like what then can I do from that part, from that point? Um, and so, by the way, all of those I uploaded with Langflow via the 12 Labs components, right? So if you take a look at, say, like the video ingestion flow, um, and I've got this, these are all components from 12 Labs. So I've got this video file one. Actually, I should bring this up, say 12 or spell 12 correctly, details. But there's a whole set of components here. Split video. I know we haven't really talked about splitting video yet, James. But the Pegasus model, the indexer, the text embedder, the video
Mm.
embedder, and video file, right? So I can come over here then and I can say, well, I want to load a video, right? And the one that you saw a second ago is the action figure one, right?
Mhm.
And then I'm just throwing that through the Pegasus indexer. And then that actually indexes it, to my knowledge, right? That's what's that sends it up to 12 Labs and indexes it there. That's where it showed up in my dashboard. But at the same time, I'm using their embedding model again through the components to then store the embedding, the converted embedding version of this video in a vector store, right? So in this case, AstroDB. So then I can go through all these different videos, and now I can index them, and I can also store their embeddings in a vector DB, and I can then use that in like an agentic flow to start interacting with it and everything, right?
Right.
If I were to,
And that's
oh, go ahead.
that's useful to know for developers, right? I mean, so I think like what James had showed us is that like if you're a developer and you want to use 12 Labs for the indexing
Yeah,
and effectively also use 12 Labs for the storage of all of those embeddings, 12 Labs will give you like a search API that you can use to search the data that they have stored.
right.
But you can also use 12 Labs to generate the embeddings. And if you
Yeah,
want to, based on your use case, like you can store those embeddings in a third-party vector database, whether it's Astra or Chroma or whatever
right.
you want. So I think that that's a useful thing for developers to know.
Yes.
That like they don't, it isn't sort of like just a, like a black box where like you can't get the embeddings. Like you can get the embeddings, and you can store them somewhere else if your use case requires that.
Yeah, and to that point, right? To that point exactly. This is my Astra database, right? This is where I stored those embeddings. You can see for the 4 videos that I've indexed, here are the actual, if you pull it open, you'll see the embedding data in here, right? So this is where I'm using Astra, to your point. It could have been Chroma, it could have been 12 Labs or whatever. But in that case, now I've got them in my own vector store, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and to that point now, right, if I want to, if I have like a retrieval flow, right? So I'm just going to pull this out, this retrieval flow. Notice now, this is the part where I can start to interact. I can start to like ask questions of the data, similar to what James actually did in 12 Labs directly, right? But this is just doing it through this other interface where, again, now I'm using the embedding model. I'm going to tie that to whatever my vector store is, to the same collection. I call it video embeddings. And then the other part that comes out of here, this is kind of interesting, where when I get results, within those results, if we look at the metadata, right, you get things like a
Mhm.
video ID and an index ID. This is coming from 12 Labs. But I need a way to, when I want to then say, ask Pegasus to do some analysis on something, it needs that video ID and the index name. So
Yep.
nicely, 12 Labs created a component for that very purpose, right? That allows me to just say, hey, I want to take those out. Let's pull that data out. Let's put these in. And now
For
I can
sure.
start having conversations, right? So if you could see, I was doing this a little bit earlier. I was having some conversations. Now, what's interesting here is this is interacting directly with the Pegasus model, right? So the questions go to Pegasus, Pegasus returns. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. One of the things that Langflow does really well is, agentic flows, right? Bringing in
Mhm.
agents and everything. So I've got this super simple flow that essentially is using both. I made 2 versions. I had one that was just a simple video retrieval that just returns a result, and one that actually loops through. It could be like n number of results or whatever. And then the agent just chooses those. But what the agent allows me to do, simple little things like, I barely put anything in this prompt, but like give me pretty responses in Markdown, right? And so now, as I'm like kind of responding out, I could do more with this, right? But now it is pre-formatting that data, and then that ties into just like a simple little app. So what I did today is I made like the most simplest of Next.js apps, and literally built this. I always like to do it like this because um, I'm trying to illustrate a point of, you said earlier, Carter, that the API, like looking at the TwelveLabs API, it's actually pretty darn straightforward, right? And like I built this within the hour before we came on today. And it's not because I'm particularly good at this. I totally use Claude Code to do this. But the point being, right, is that I could come over and I'd say, what are the highlights from the Olama video, right? And if you remember
Yeah,
earlier,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, go
From
ahead. No, go ahead.
so sorry. Well, yeah, but I'm sorry. I want to kind of tee this up for the
Please.
for people that
Yeah.
are listening, right? Like, so you have pre-uploaded a bunch of files, right?
Yes. So
Great. So is
I
when
have
you say
indexed
like
these. Yeah.
yes, so when you say like the Olama video, great. Like it's like
Yeah.
your app, which
There's
is
Olama. Yeah.
basically a Next.js app, which is backed by Langflow, which is tied into 12 Labs
Yes.
APIs. Like
Yes.
it's gonna like figure out which one is the Olama video, and then it'll try to go figure out get you more information about
Well,
it.
the cool thing about it, right, is that that is actually Pegasus along with the model doing this. So let me expand on that just for a moment, right? Um, so Pegasus is already going to do that on its own, right? So when I was in that video retrieval flow, and if I ask a question about that, it's going in this case, right? It's going to look at Astra, where my vector store. It's going to pull back the data, and it's going to use that as doing a vector search based off of whatever I asked, about the Olama
Yep.
video or something. It'll
Hmm.
return a result back. It's going to send that over to Pegasus, and Pegasus does that analysis and gives me the information, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm doing a little bit differently here is I'm saying, hey, I just asked it about the Olama video, right here. And then you can see now it's actually using context in this case because I had some previous conversations with it. So if I do something novel or if I grab a different one, yeah, let's see. Yeah, you can see here that my agent has gone and it's actually this video retrieval flow is actually the thing that you saw a second ago that's calling Pegasus. So it's actually Pegasus is still doing the analysis, but then the agent, in this case, I'm just using like 4.1 mini or something, is then further in my case kind of prettifying it and putting it in markdown, whatever I want to do with it, right? I could do more from that standpoint. So really it is still all going through 12 labs and everything like that, to get the data back on things. As a matter of fact, if I were to say like please chapter, because this one I really like, chapterize the action figure video. Let's see what it does.
It's a pretty short video.
It is a very short video, right? And so let's see if I take a look. It's so funny. I did so many of these before. Let me try to get it a new one. Because now it's fast. That's great, but that's also going out of context. It's actually pulling it from the context that the memory that the agent already has.
Sure.
What might be a really fun question you can ask? What is the let's see what happens here. Highlight from the magic. By the way, if you're wondering, magic video, we use Riverside, and Riverside has this neat oh yeah, that's that is it actually. That's right. This is me doing a test. I was doing a test in Riverside a while ago, right? And I was trying to figure something out. And so like all this kind of stuff, this agent has been pulling from Pegasus, right? And so again, you can see it every time you see it to do one of these video retrievals is actually doing that. So you get some here's one of the chapterized ones. It's really interesting. Oh, actually, this is one of the ones I was referring to that it gave me the exact timestamp. When I went and looked at tested these, they were dead on, like they were great. So
Yeah.
it's like that kind of stuff. So you can ask all these questions, get this nice output. And the point of me just hooking up this basic app is because for any of the flows in Langflow, if I come over here to this API access, right? You have this simple piece of code. You've got a basic payload. I've got input value. That's the question I'm
Hmm.
asking, right? Session ID, in this case, I'm just going with the default. But if you're doing a real app and you want unique session IDs, absolutely use that. And then here, you're just saying, here's the call to Langflow in this case. Here's my flow ID. This is the thing that identifies this. And I just pass that in, and then I get a response back. And if you take a look at the code in this Next.js app, right, you'll see I have this call Langflow API. We have the same exact kind of stuff set up here for the payload, right? And then, I get a lot of console log outputs, but right here, right, I'm just pulling the stuff out,
Hmm.
from the data. So it ends up being pretty darn simple to create a very simple interface like this, right? And this is like to me, this is like what Langflow is really good at doing, right? Is providing these types of interfaces on something like 12 Labs, and the fact that now I could have a lot more complex agents if I wanted to, depending on kind of like what I was doing in my app.
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes. And we can probably stop screen sharing now, but
Mhm.
like I think it goes back to the point that I was making that I think people who are building platforms and being incredibly thoughtful about the design of the APIs, like
Mm,
the core capabilities that developers are looking for. In this case, as it relates to like processing video and creating embeddings and doing intelligent search. Like if you really nail those APIs, all of this other stuff that you're seeing becomes just so easy, right?
mhm,
Whether it's like integrating, creating components for Lengthflow or like creating like agentic experiences, right? Like they're all just sort of built on top of these fundamental like Legos. That by the way, from an engineering perspective, like this is an incredibly hard problem to solve, right? I mean, large text models are in and of themselves like an incredibly difficult engineering problem, and
Right.
everyone marvels at like how I don't know how good ChatGPT is these days. And but like you can just sort of imagine that providing those exact same capabilities for video are like an order of magnitude like more complex, right? You're just dealing with like insane dimensionality of like data and complexity,
Mm,
and but the expectations that users have, like when I'm using software, like my expectations haven't changed. Like things need to be fast, right?
yeah.
I don't even know what I just did there.
You're
But
apparently very happy right
I know, I was
there.
so happy. But like, if I'm using it like David's showing off this like quick little next app that he just
Yeah.
like vibe coded. But at the end of the day, like when a user enters a query and clicks a button, they need something to come back in sub-second time, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, they just think the app is broken or something. So I think like the engineering challenges of like both dealing with video, but like still having SLAs that are acceptable for a developer to build an application on top of are like really, really hard. So I
Yeah.
know I've been really impressed by what the 12 Labs team has been able to do
Yep.
the last couple of years. James, we're just about to wrap things up. So
mm,
first of all, obviously, like everyone who's listening should go check out 12 Labs. They can just go to 12labs.io. Can you? I think that you all have like a pretty generous like
Yep.
trial setup for devs. Do you want to
Yep.
speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, essentially we have a freemium tier, and any new account set up will have automatically get 10 hours of free credit. So you can play
Nice.
it just
That's
around
cool.
up to 10 hours. And then this is, we feel this is a right number. And a lot of like hackathons folks, right, that I did, they tend to use it. And this is good enough for you to like test and play around with the search, the analysis, the embedding capabilities, just to get a sense of um, how it works. And then after that, I think you want to build more complex workflows with like larger volume of video, you can take a look at the developer tier, which is we we price it in a way that is very like cost sensitive and maintainable for a lot of
Well,
developers.
and,
So
and to that point, like all the stuff that I've done, right, over, obviously it's going to vary from person to person and how much activity they have. But, one of those videos I upload is an hour long, right? All the stuff I did within the free tier.
mhm.
And I've been working with it for weeks, not just today or anything like that. So I would say it's pretty, if you're looking to like just get in from the development standpoint, then there you go. There's like no
Yeah.
Yeah.
cost.
Is there
Um,
a James? Is there anything else you'd like developers to check out besides just kind of going straight to
And I know
12labs.io?
one thing that he's gonna say. Like I'm waiting
Okay.
for it. I know it's gotta
Yeah.
be.
yeah. Well, so to that point about Carter's, you know, last comment about how, or like even David, you mentioned a lot of the interesting tools and agentic workflow that folks can build with our video technology, right? One thing that we seriously consider is like, as the world moving towards Asians, and um, like in the language world, right? Like things are moving towards like agentic capabilities, reasoning, etc. How can multimodal and video can also move towards
Hmm.
that direction? So like it's about how can we make our models, our API, highly compatible, right, within the agentic marketplace, the all the tool use capabilities. So there's a variety of like developers burn effort that my team has been working on those, right? So there's a couple of things. So number one is like, we are working on a model context protocol server for TwelveLabs, and that's
Ah, MCP.
yes, yeah,
Nice.
I saw that. um, but yeah, like this is super exciting because the like developer are moving the assignment towards that. So this should be available publicly at some point in September, so next month. And
Nice.
Nice.
we're very eager to see all the interesting like workflows that that developers can build with this, because now you can like bring in like Langflow MCP, database, or like, third-party Gen AI companies, MCP as well, all together in the workflow, which
Yeah.
dramatically simplify the process of building application with 12 Labs, but like, in general, right? So that's one big effort. Beside that, I think like, we like the Pegasus model, right? The video language
Yeah.
model. Like we could continuously make improvement. I think we got a lot of requests on like structure JSON output. So this is like a big focus for us
Mm.
to make it like a um, stable version, to make sure that like Pegasus can return reliable JSON, which would then be used for tool use, HTTP calling. Um, we're also thinking about like, chat completion and responses interface for
Mm,
Pegasus, that it can be, like nicely play with any OpenAI compatible client, right? That Pegasus, so that like 12 model can fit neatly into those workflow.
hmm
Yeah, so all these effort are what we are looking at, and I think like by this time next year, like, you see a lot of different video agents,
mm.
um, whether it's demo application or a product being built on top of API, and that could means that, some effort here like can be realized efficiently.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, James,
Yeah.
like
That's cool.
thanks so much for joining us on the flow. When this episode goes out, if any of those, if the MCP server has shipped, we'll make sure to include like a link to the docs in the show
Yes. Yes.
notes.
Yes. Yes.
But we're recording this in late August, so it's entirely possible that by the time the episode hits the podcast networks, MCP will be live at 12 Labs. So we'll make sure to provide a link for folks. But thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for coming, hanging out with us a second time. I guess second time's a charm. And this is just really cool. David and I, like, we just have the best job. We get to just play with all these Tinker Toys and Legos and like fun AI things. But the video stuff is like legitimately like cool.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah. Yeah.
surprised. I just can't believe it. I'm just like, I'll enter these queries and I just don't even know how it does what it does, right? So I think you guys are working on like real like black magic stuff that devs should play with. I think there's like we said before, like there's probably like a basket of use cases that you're very familiar with and your company is aware of, and you have customers that are doing these things. I'm personally more excited about the use cases that like have yet to be discovered, right?
Yeah.
Just like the stuff that comes out of a hackathon, right? The things that people once they get their hands on this and they play with it, they just kind of connect the dots, and then presto, there's like this new video social network thing, or maybe there's a dating app that doesn't suck, or who knows. There's just like there's something cool
I don't know.
that is like.
That's a. I don't know if that's gonna happen, Carter.
Well, Dave, what do you know? You've been married for like 30 years. I mean, me too, by the way. Like, I don't, like I'm not going to build this, but like,
I'm not gonna build it either.
yeah, exactly. Some younger person who, hasn't been married for 20 years, like they might have a hot take on like, how dating apps can be non-crappy. But anyway, James, thanks so much. It was just great to spend the time with you,
Yeah.
and hopefully we'll have you again sometime. Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate the time.
All right,
Awesome.
folks.
Thank you all. Thanks, James.
Sign off. Take care. Bye bye.
See ya.